Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I wanted to do something a little different today on the channel and give you some holiday gift ideas for the aging geeks in your life. And I haven't done one of these before, so let me know what you think, but I came across 5 different things recently, including one thing that I use all the time that I thought might be really helpful to those trying to shop for somebody like me. I'm not asking for gifts here, I'm just giving suggestions out for people you know that are kind of like me, which are aging geeks. They used to play with all this stuff behind me when we were younger and are now impossible to shop for because we just buy whatever we want when it comes out. So I've got 5 things here that are not heavily marketed to the mass market that I think will be of interest to people in your life. And I'm going to start off with something here from Pat Contry. This is a rather large book. It's called The Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library from 1985 to 1995. Now, Pat Contry runs a YouTube channel called Pat the NES Punk. He's also got a great podcast called The Completely Unnecessary Podcast. And a few months ago, he announced a Kickstarter, which is this book. In fact, I was one of the contributors to the book, and I'm in the back of it with his big list of backers there. So, really cool book. It's about $65, so it's a little on the pricier side of the equation here, but for someone who really loved the NES as a child, like me, and probably somebody you know, this might be a really fun book to give to them because they will spend hours going through this. Every single game documented with screenshots, cartridge artwork, you name it. He's really done a tremendous amount of work to put this together. This is self-published, by the way, too, so this is not somebody giving him money to do this. He was doing this in his spare time, I guess, putting all of this stuff together. So really well-written book, a lot of great content in here, and even goes into some things that you may not have heard of before, like PAL NES exclusives that were available only in Europe. He's got some of these third-party games that you've probably never seen before documented in here, along with things that were never released and background on the game console. Lots of great stuff, definitely worth checking out. $65, and you can find it on Amazon at Lon.TV/UltimateNES. And the second item is another book on a game console that is also very near and dear to my heart, the Atari. And my friend Ken Gagne told me about this book months ago, and I pre-ordered it on Amazon. It just showed up a day or two ago, and this is what actually prompted me to do this video, because I want people to see that all this stuff is out there and that there are people that are in your life who definitely want to get stuff like this. This is written by Tim Lapatino, and what he's done here is just an amazing job going through the history of Atari from the art perspective. Not only the logo, but the industrial design in some areas, arcade cabinet design, and then they even go into all of the amazing cartridge artwork that was on all of these games back in the day. And if you're like me and you have these cartridges still laying around, the artwork doesn't look nearly as well preserved as it does in this book. So this is a really great way just to appreciate this art that went into these games, because these old Atari games, as you can see up here, did not look like much, so the art was really a big selling point. This is what attracted customers to buy these games, and just amazing, just page after page of just incredible blow-ups, essentially, of your favorite Atari artwork here. I used to love the Missile Command artwork, and he's got a whole great write-up on here, interviews with the artists. If you have a fan of Atari in your life, this is definitely worth the investment. It is a great $30 book, excellent quality, definitely recommended. Now, our third item is something that I used to collect as a kid, which are baseball cards and some trading cards from different movies that I liked. And surprisingly, you can still find these things unopened on eBay for not a lot of money. So I found one seller who was advertising a mixed collection of movie trading cards and guaranteed at least 2 from the Return of the Jedi. And these are unopened wax packs with the gum still in them, believe it or not. I probably wouldn't chew the gum on it, but these are completely unopened. You can get them relatively inexpensively. The baseball cards, you could probably buy a whole retail pack, the one that would sit on the shelf with all of the wax packs in it, for around $20 or less. So these things really don't have a lot of value, but they have a lot of sentimental value for folks who grew up with these things. So here's the Return of the Jedi card. I'm just going to open this up because, you know what, I can get a few more of these if I wanted to. Let's have a look and see what we got here for cards. I don't think there's a lot of value to these cards, but as you can see here, the gum looks exactly as it did in 1983 when this was packed up. It does get some of the cards messed up from the sugar that has probably been on that gum for all that time, but here you go. You've got some Return of the Jedi cards that have never been opened since they were packed way back in 1983, along with some stickers and some other things. And this is a lot of fun just to get these little time capsules here. I've got a bunch of them that I keep at my office, some baseball cards just in the pack, just because it was one of those things where as a kid you would have loved to just take home a big wax pack black retail box of baseball cards and open them up and see what you ended up with. And you can get these things very inexpensively, and these are really fun little stocking stuffers. All right, so that's going to do it for the paper products portion of this gift guide. The next item here is something I reviewed not too long ago. This is called the RetroUSB AVS. And if it looks like an old Nintendo, that's no accident, because it takes your old Nintendo games and it plays them in high definition, and it does it in a way that very accurately emulates the old hardware. They have a chip in here called a field programmable gate array, and that basically makes this new chip in here behave just like the old ones did. And it's a complicated thing, but it works. It's probably the best NES experience you'll have without actually buying an NES. And the reason why you might want to look at this $185 product is that it's got an HD output on it. So it'll output at 720p, very crisp and clean graphics. So if you ever tried to hook up an old Nintendo to your television, it often looks pretty lousy. This won't. It really looks nice. Even on a 4K set, as you can see in my review, it really does a nice job of replicating the Nintendo experience with very clean, modern-looking graphics on your television. It won't make them look any better than the originals, of course, but they'll be the cleanest output you'll ever see from an original Nintendo game. Another thing that they sell on their website is called the Power Pack, and in full disclosure, I bought both of these things at their full price. This is called a flash cartridge, and what this does is it allows you to load up game ROM files. Basically, you can take the files off of the cartridges that powered all these old Nintendo games and get them all on a single compact flash card, and you can have any game you want on a single cartridge that you can easily switch back and forth from. There's a couple of additional features like save states and some other things that they have on this as well, and you can get this cartridge, which can play every game ever made, along with the console, for just around $300 or so, maybe a little over $300, and really nice gift for somebody that was really into the Nintendo back in the day. Now, Nintendo's going to have their own little mini NES coming out shortly, but that will not play every game that ever was produced for the console, only the ones that they've baked into it. So it's going to be a little plug-and-play system, also HD for about $60, but I think there's only 40 or 50 games or so that come on that device. This one will play everything. So if you know somebody that has a lot of these games in their closet or something, this will work with it and will work with the original NES controllers and other ones that are compatible. Now, if a single retro gaming system is not enough for you, I picked up this handheld probably about 2 years ago now called the GPD XD. I've got another set of reviews on this one too. And this is running Android, but it's powerful enough to run a system as modern as the Dreamcast, which I'm running right here. This is Sonic Adventure 2 on it. So you can run Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, you can do the old PlayStation, and then of course all of these systems from the 80s and 90s like the Neo Geo and the Super Nintendo and the NES and the Segas and the Genesis systems, whatever you can think of from the 80s or 90s, you can likely run on here. It's got full Google Play access, but a really nice game controller here, and of course a full touchscreen. So you can not only use this to play your games, but you can also run most of the Android apps that are in the App Store as well. So really great little system, about $120. I'll put up a link to it to AliExpress, but this link goes to these guys that make this thing, and I've had nothing but a good experience with this over the period that I've owned it. In fact, this made my gift guide last year as well, because it's a really great little gaming handheld. They've just done everything right with it, and it's really cool. We're going to be getting in one of these soon that runs Windows as well. That one's going to cost more money, but in the interim, I can still recommend this one very highly. And this can also be a really fun winter project too, because they have all these great organizing apps available. There's one called GameSum, and there's a few others out there as well that take all of the games you have stored on the SD card and give you a really nice interface in which to keep all your games organized and launched. And it takes a lot of time to set those things up, but once you get it set up, you'll have an ultimate little retro gaming handheld that can, by the way, also be plugged into a television with its HDMI output. So really fun little device. I reviewed this in detail as well. I'll put that down in a master playlist you can find in the video description. So those are my 5 things for the holidays that I think are kind of off the beaten track that might be of interest to someone in your life. Hope this video was helpful. Let me know what you thought of it. I haven't done a lot of these top 5 or whatever's on the channel just because I just tend to focus on one thing at a time, but these things are really cool as a group together, and I'd love to hear your feedback as well. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including gold level supporter Eric. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.